Hello and welcome to Killer Pool. In today's video, we'll be seeing how many different ways we can make a golden break. Typically when you watch the pros play, they're not trying to make a 9 on the break or golden break as we know it. Typically they're trying to hit the one ball as square as possible or come off the side rail and land the cue ball center table while either pocketing the one in the side or the wing ball depending on where they wrap. But we aren't pros and that's not what we're trying today. We're trying to win the game in one stroke. Make the 9 on the break. In this challenge, we're going to be using a magic rack that will allow us to maintain consistency. So after we break, we can observe maybe a slight mistake we've made or, calculate wanting to hit at a slightly different angle. And with a magic rack, we know that the balls are going to be in the same place every single time, but we can make very slight adjustment. And we're going to be using a break cue with Bakelite tip. I like using a 54-inch break cue on a 7-foot table, but it all just comes down to preference. So we just use a Bakelite tip and break cue to try and get as much energy into that cue ball as possible and as much energy into the rack as possible. The first break we're going to attempt, we're going to try and hit the rack fairly square. We're going to bring the cue ball in off the rail, which is a regular breaking spot, and we're going to try and make the 2 ball go off the back of the rail, come back into the rack, and hit the 9 ball either up into the corner pocket or into the side pocket. The second break we're going to attempt is we're going to put the cue ball roughly in the same spot, and we're going to hit the inside of the 1 ball at an angle so the cue ball comes off the rail, back into the pack, hopefully hits the 9 ball square, and then it'll head into either the corner or the side again. But this time we're going for the corner at the bottom of the table instead of the corner at the top of the table. And then the third break we're going to try is basically the exact same thing, but we're going to kind of cut it more, get the cue ball moving a little bit faster, and cut across the front of the rack against the opposite rail we're breaking from, and then back into the rack, trying to hit the 9 ball as squarely as possible, get some action on it, see if we can't make that in the side pocket or one of the corner pockets. Let's get on that table and see if we can't play some Killer Pool today. Alright, this is going to be the first attempt. We're starting with trying to get the 2 ball to go off the back rail there, hit into the 9 ball, and then go into one of the side pockets or one of the back pockets. Let's see if we can do it. We'll try maybe 10 or 20 this way, see how many we can get, and then we'll try a different method. Put the cue ball just kind of third away from this diamond inside. Alright, first try, we didn't move the 9 ball. We're going to pay attention and try and hit it just a little fuller. There it is! We did it! Second try, we managed to make the 2 ball go off the back rail and hit the 9 in the side. So we'll try this method a few more times before we move on to something else. Alright, so we made it on our second one. Third one, the 9 ball got kicked by the 2 as we were trying. We were actually trying it mostly to that back corner, so it headed in that direction. Didn't quite get there though, but you see a lot of balls going over there. Usually the 9 ball will kind of head towards the diamond and then hopefully get a kick towards that pocket. So we'll see if we can make one in that pocket as well. Come on, baby. That was almost exactly as I described it to you. Alright, we'll see if we can get that 9 ball moving again. Right here, come on, baby. Alright, I can't resist. This one is just too easy to not attempt to run out, so I gotta run it up. tougher. Yeah. I promised one in the back corner, we made it. So let's move on to a different style and see if we can make a few a different way. All right, now the goal of this style of break now would be to get the cue ball to come off the side of the 1 ball, off the side of the rail there, back into the pack and knock the 9 ball into one of the corners or one of the sides. Typically, you would try this break more when you're spotting the 9 ball on the racking spot where the 1 ball is there. Usually that's the method you would go for, trying to make the 9, but we're just going to do it with the 1 on the spot and see if we can get anything today. So I'll give this one a few tries as well. So that was not a great first attempt at this method. The cue ball went up towards the middle of the table, which was not our goal. But what we're going to try and do this time is bounce the cue ball to the side that we're breaking from off the rail. And then we'll try some going off the opposite side and back and see if we can chip that 9 in. All right, so on the first one, we pulled it above the rack. The next one, we put it way far below the rack and managed to scratch. So we're gonna find a middle ground between those two now. All right, we're struggling a bit on this one to find the right spot, but we'll give her a few more tries before maybe changing our method. All right, so that one we got the cue ball to do what we want. We were just trying it with our breaking cue. We can be a little bit more accurate. So now we're gonna ramp up the speed, try and hit it with the breaking cue in the same way and see if we can hit the same spot on the cue ball. Oh, we did it! We did it! That one's a tough one. I didn't know if I was going to get that one. And even when it hit, the 6 ball was sitting there and it kind of the 9 ball squished between the 6 and the 9. But the cue ball was the ball that kicked that in. So I'm pretty proud of that one because I never practiced that one. That's not something I do. That was just for the camera in this video. All right, we'll try the same method, but instead of going this side of the table and bouncing off the same side, we're going to try and go off the opposite side, come back into the rack. All right, we're a little bit high on that one. Didn't come back into the rack enough, so we're going to try and come a little bit thinner, see if we can come off the rail into the center of the rack near the 9 ball. And that was a real close one. Cue ball did exactly what I wanted to do, and as I talked about in the intro, this isn't a very viable option if you're playing tournaments, but if you notice this time, the cue ball did wind up in the center of the table. So we're going to pay attention and see if, as we attempt this, if we're able to keep that cue ball in the center of the table, and it might just give us a 9 ball break we're allowed to try in tournaments. One other thing to notice here is that when you might have noticed when I'm hitting the other breaks, that cue ball pops up and kind of sits in the middle of the table, or that's what essentially you're trying to do. When you're trying these side breaks off the rail, you have to pull a lot of power off your break. And if you don't have a strong break, this might be a better method for you to attempt, because some of the other methods require you to hit the balls very, very hard. Whereas this way, you're trying to hit them a little bit softer, use the speed of the cue ball off the rail to kick the 9 in, and it doesn't take a lot of effort to get that cue ball moving fast off the side of the 1. We did it again. That one, then the cue ball hit it dead square, and 9 ball started going back and forth, and then we got a lucky little kick and got in that corner. Again, the method I said it was going to happen. Cue ball off the rail, and managed to make that one too. Well, we managed to do exactly what we set out to do. So we made some golden breaks in a few attempts. Now we know we can make a golden break. Is this something that's actually going to be viable in competition? And that's not a real easy question to answer. You're not going to see most pros in big tournaments that you see on TV try this break, because the fact is they are so consistent. If they can make a ball on the break, squat that cue ball in the center of the table, they're going to run out most of the time. If you watch most pro pool, it all comes down to the break. If they make a ball center table, they're good. If they don't, they're hooked, anything like that. Sometimes it'll go back and forth. But most of the time, if they get an open opportunity at the table, they're going to run out. That's not the case with most amateurs, definitely not the case with me. So the question of whether to try this golden break or to try consistent break that will make a ball and leave the cue ball on the center table is really up to your own skill level. When I play, I'm generally trying a break where I'm trying to leave the cue ball center table. But when I run into an opponent that's maybe much better than me in a competition or something like that, or maybe I've lost my confidence, feel like I'm not playing that well, sometimes I will switch to a 9-ball break where I'm trying to make the 9, and maybe I can just get a cheesy win or two out of it. So it's really hard to say. It comes down to your skill level, comes down to your confidence level, and preference, really. I know some good players that are going for 9-ball breaks and have the ability to run out, and I'll still do it. That's not what I like to do, but that doesn't make what they're doing wrong. Really, it's just, we know we can learn how to do it. If you can learn how to do it and be consistent, maybe give it a try. Try it out in a competition one day, or if you go down to your local weekly bar tournament, give it a try for a week down there. If you start seeing 9s go in, maybe it becomes a viable option for you. So that about wraps things up. Any questions you have, you can leave them down in the comments. I'll be sure to respond and answer to everyone. We don't get so much traffic, so I can respond to all of you. And if you like this video, please leave a comment and like and subscribe. And thank you very much for watching.